let's talk about some introduction to statistics. You can't really get into it without talking about these things first. So we're going to do mean, also known as average, median, mode, and range. I'm just going to give you a definition. I would like you to write it down, a sample problem, and then a problem for you to do on your own, and then bring those answers to class, and we'll talk a little bit more about it then. All right, let's get into this. First, here's the mean. If you need to pause it, go ahead, pause it, write this down, but I'm going to go quick. The mean is just the average of a set of numbers. To find it, we're going to add all of the numbers and divide the sum of the numbers of addends, right? So, really what this is here is a general data set, right? 20, 23, 21, 20, and 21. Let's say these are the average quiz scores. Let's say maybe out of 30, and what I want to do is I want to know what the average quiz is, right? It's kind of like what the middle is, but it's sort of like you're just using the information to say, okay, well, overall, if I had to get one number, how did these 5 students do together? So I'm going to add all the scores up. 20 plus 23 plus 21 plus 20 plus 21 adds up to 105, and then I divide it by the number of items that I added, right? So the number of data points here. So 105, you divide it by 5, it means 21, so you get an average score of 21. Meaning, if I took all of those data points together, or all those quiz scores together, and I wanted to say, okay, here's one score that describes how well these kids did, 21 would be that number. Now, is it the most accurate number? Not always, which is why sometimes we will use some of the other ones. Okay, so here's a general data set. Go ahead, write those down. I want you to find the mean, and we'll go over that one in class tomorrow. Okay, let's move on. Range. Okay, now we're going to talk about the range. The range is essentially the difference between the greatest and the least numbers in the set of data. We basically are looking at all of the numbers, and we're going to see how much does it span, right? So from the smallest to the largest, we're going to say, okay, it covers a certain amount of numbers, okay? So in order to do this, we're just going to do some subtraction. So I'm going to look for the highest data point here, okay, in this one of the same scores. I'm going to say, okay, well, 23 is my highest one. And then I'm going to look for my lowest one, which is 20, and I'm going to subtract it. And I get 3, and so that I know the range of my data here is 3 points, which, you know, sometimes it's useful to know if you're talking about an average of something. You know, the larger the range, like especially the percentage of data, the less maybe average is going to work out, or maybe it tells you a little bit more. You know, if this is the scores here are in the 20s, or if it's out of 30 points and the range is only 3 points, you know, that's not really that much of a span. So, and a span, I mean, think of like a wingspan, or like a wingspan on a person would be from if you held your arms out to your side as far as you could go, and you measured from fingertip to fingertip on your other hand. That's like your wingspan. Okay. Think sometimes people talk about it as far as an airplane. It'd be the 2 side wings, right? And then you'd measure from the edge of one to the edge of the other. All right. So let's go ahead. You find the range on this one and bring it to class tomorrow. Okay. I told you I'd go quick. Median. Median is when you take, it's the middle of the set. All right. So in order to find the middle, you're going to list them in order. You're going to put them from least to greatest, greatest to least. It doesn't really matter as long as they are sequential. Okay. Meaning they go in order. And you just find the middle. So sometimes it means you're going to have to cross a whole bunch of numbers out as you go. But you find the middle, and sometimes you need to average the middle, and we'll get to that later. So here's a data set. Again, it's that same thing. So I listed, I started at 21, 20, 20, 21, 21, 23, and you just sort of cross out the top one and the lowest one and the next one and the next one, and then what's in the middle. So 21, and 21 is the median in this case. Okay, it's the middle score, meaning half of the numbers are going to be above that and half of the numbers are going to be below that. Okay. So here's another data set, same one as the range. So go ahead, write those down, and I want you to tell me what the median is there. All right, and then you have this thing called mode. Mode is the number that appears the most often. Sometimes there isn't a data point that shows up multiple times. Sometimes there's no mode. Okay, so for the mode, you just basically count the number of times you see certain numbers, and whichever one shows up the most is the mode. So here we go. I have 12, 15, 10, 13, 12, 11, and 11. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, all right, the number 12, I see 12. Oh, blue is not going to work here. Let's do red. So I have the number 12. Okay, how many times do I have that? I have it once, twice. And then I have the number 15. How many times does that show up? I see it once. Okay, and these are just tally marks. That's not an 11. These are tally marks. I see the number 10. How many times do I see that? Once. I see the number 13. How many times do I see that? I got it once. And I see the number 11. How many times do I see that? I see that twice. So in this case, 12 and 11 both show up twice. So my mode here would be 12 and 11. Okay. Another data point. You go ahead, and I want you to let us know what the mode is tomorrow. And that is it. Hopefully that made sense. And if not, bring questions tomorrow.